Welcome to Awakenings in Real Life, where we tell inspiring stories of transformation, meaning, and hope. While we typically think of an awakening as a getting up or something religious or spiritual in nature, it's also a recognition, realization, or awareness of something. We're going to share stories of people triumphing over loss, illness, addiction, trauma, bullying, near-death experience, and more. Please enjoy. Welcome to Awakenings in Real Life. Our guest today is Mary Beth Robinson. How are you, Mary Beth? Do you like Mary Beth or Mary?
Mary Beth would be
Mary
great.
Beth.
Yeah,
How are you this morning?
I'm great. How are you?
Good. Glad to have you here. Let me share with the audience a little bit about you, if I can. For 20 years, Mary Beth Robinson has been working with people across the globe to discover their superpowers. She uses her intuitive ability to help people deeply understand where their true genius and power resides. Mary Beth Robinson isn't just a business coach. She's a game changer for entrepreneurs who are ready to break free from self-doubt and tap into their true brilliance. Her method is a powerful blend of intuitive insight and practical strategy designed to help individuals unlock hidden strengths and take bold action. So that's very interesting, Mary Beth. And my first question to guests are, what was or your awakening in real life?
Um, I would say I had many, and from a very young age, I knew that there was just a thing that I would do, and I didn't know what to call it. I didn't know what it was, but I would like tune into people, and I would know things about them, not private things,
Okay.
just things like, are they safe? Are they nice? Are they telling me the truth? That kind of thing.
Right.
And so I always had that, and I always also had a drive to use that always. I felt very comfortable when I was in that state. Well, life happens, and there's no, intuitive school that at least was in my hometown, if
You
that
could
exists
start
at
one. You could
all.
start one.
I could. I know. I have thought about that because, intuition is like, it's like, having 5 million flavors of ice cream. Like, there's so many ways that people could be intuitive, and how
Right.
do they want to express that? So, um, but I had, as I would open myself up to my intuition, I would get all of, I get the information, but I would also get a lot of gunk. And so when I was probably 30, gosh, my early 30s, there was a serial killer who grew up fairly close to me, who was active, I think, killing people. And
Wow.
I mean active.
That's a
In a,
great story to start with,
I
Mary
know,
Beth. The
I
serial
know,
killer.
sounds terrible. It sounds terrible. I shouldn't even, I mean, it's
No,
horrible.
no, it's okay.
But But for years, I would shut down my intuitive ability because I was like a vacuum cleaner for
Right.
all the like hurt and bad and anger and everything. So when he was caught, he was actually caught he lived like 2 hours away from my hometown. And so he was caught years and years later. And when he was caught, I remember being able to tune into him, and it was horrible.
Wow.
And it was just because he was he wasn't just like, oh, I'm just going to sneak up and kill a bunch of people. Like, he made them suffer and tortured, and it was horrible. So at that time, I was like, what am I going to do with this? What am I going to do?
Sure.
And
Well,
so
what kind of things were you hearing about him, or what was your intuition? Just his motives, or what were you sensing?
there was a survivor in a family that he
Mhm.
had killed, and the survivor was telling the story of what happened. And so, it was such a national story that you couldn't really get away with it or get away from it unless you just didn't watch any media.
Sure.
So I heard just a snippet of this person talking about how it happened, and I just was like, oh my gosh, I cannot, I cannot take this. And it was just like I was standing in the room. It was terrible. So at that point, I said, you know what? I'm done. I'm done. I want to use my intuition and I'm going to filter it. And I'm not going to get any, like, I don't want to work for the police. I don't want to solve crimes. I don't want to do that. That is not what I'm not made for that.
Okay.
And so I just said, no, no more. And I just was so clear. And something happened that had never happened to me before because, again, I don't have a lot of psychic training. And so I just said, no, I'm going to tell people great things and help them and tell them how amazing they are. Help them, I want to help people. Done. But I am not going to go into that dark energy. And that was a huge difference for me because I stopped being somehow, maybe it was just my clarity, I stopped being that vacuum cleaner for all the energy.
How were you able to shut out the noise or the bad stuff?
You know what? I don't even know. I mean, I look back, I just was so clear. And sometimes I think something seems so subtle and everyday, but they
Right.
create a huge awakening. And that was my awakening. Like, it wasn't like I got hit by lightning or I wasn't in a coma. I didn't have a near death experience. But I just got clear, no, I will not be letting that stuff in. And for some reason, with my intuition, that worked.
So it's interesting that you describe it as an intuition. Obviously, people are intuitive.
Mm-hmm.
Yours is at
Yeah.
a whole different level.
Mm-hmm.
And you also mentioned the term psychics. Do you relate it to what psychics do, or is what you do something different, or your feelings different, or do you even know?
Yeah, you know what? I think what happens when people say, "Oh, I'm going to go to a psychic," what they expect is like yes or no answers. Is my spouse cheating on me? Am I going to get this job? And that kind of stuff.
Right.
And in
But
that way, no, that's just not that's not at all what I do. But I do receive information. I feel like I am a conduit for divine information. And I don't tell people what to do, what decisions to make, or anything. I just can sense who people are at a deep level and sense how they can use that. And that's where my intuition really, really works. So some people can say, oh my God, like I'll get information like, gosh, something happened when you were really young and it created this issue for you. And without knowing what that is, but I'll say, around like 3 or 4. And most of the time people are like, I remember what happened. Like, I talked to a woman who I said, you were shocked by something. And I said, and it wasn't anything that anyone did to you. It just caused you to be very cautious. And
right.
she said, no, I don't think so. I don't think so. Well, she called me the next day and she said, I know what it is. She said, I reached through an electric fence to pet a little duck and it zapped her.
Wow.
And it wasn't like somebody attacked her or anything.
Right.
But that I said, you know what, that kind of imprinted on you and made you overly cautious. So that's, I mean, you could say that's a psychic thing, and you'd probably be right, but it's not like a yes or no answer. Yes or no answers to me, they don't help you.
Sure. So I got a two-part question. You said it was divine. Do you think this intuition is something from God? Is that what you attribute it to?
You know, here's this gets really tricky because I don't ever want to say I'm speaking for God because
Okay.
that's, everyone, I believe, has their own relationship with God and they
Right.
should trust that. Um, but I do believe it is higher energy that I see and higher truths. So I kind of go with that. I want to help
Makes
people,
sense.
but I don't want to be, I want to help them empower themselves.
Right. Oh,
Yeah.
that makes a lot of sense. So when you talked about the story of the woman, right? So you are, in a sense, not just seeing the negative or the bad things, but you're seeing things in their life and you use that to help them in other areas of your life. The reason why she was cautious,
Yeah.
right? It's not necessarily a positive thing, but it helps you in dealing with people. So maybe we jumped a couple of rungs. So,
Mhm.
and you want to help people. What are you doing with, first of all, what do you call, because I love your intuitive power? You have the ability to
Uh, to know people's superpowers.
know
What's
people's
great enough.
superpower.
Right.
Okay.
Yeah.
And I think that's a great turn of phrase because everybody has some sort of superpower,
Yes.
correct? Okay.
Everybody.
And so, what are you doing with this skill, this intuition, this ability to help people? Because you are a coach, right? So, explain to me a little bit more on, because you're obviously different than the standard coach if you have this kind of intuition. How are you using that to help people and in what areas?
Um, I really like to help people who have come to a place in their lives where they're like, I'm stuck. I know I'm better than this and I'm undervalued. I undervalue me. I undervalue myself. Other people
Right.
undervalue me. I'm in the wrong job. What am I doing? And so with people like that, um, I do what I call like a blind reading. I'll just say, okay, I don't know anything about you. I may know a first name, I may have an email address, but I go ahead and take a look energetically and see what's there, see what's special
Right.
about them. We start with that.
Okay.
And and here's the deal with superpowers, a superpower is something you absolutely love to do. It's natural. You're amazingly good at it. You may have worked to make it even better, but you've always had that ability.
You're born with it.
You're born with it, right? And you love to do it. It makes a difference for yourself and others, and you could do it every single day. Like, and you would love it. Now, for me, I'm a great organizer. But is that my superpower? No, that's a tool.
Your superpower is knowing other people's
Right,
superpower.
exactly. Right. Right. So that's what I'm really great at. I mean, I'm just like super, super great at it. Like, it's just, and people will ask, so anyone's superpower. Like, if people ask me, how do you do that? And not to be obnoxious, but my response is, how do you not do that? Like, that's how natural it is. So everybody else has the same thing. Like you may say to somebody, oh my gosh, you're such a great listener. And they're like, oh, okay. Like, I guess I am. But they do it automatically without even thinking about it.
Right.
So a superpower isn't a job, it's not a profession. You could use it. I mean, if you're on occasion, there is somebody who has like a violin prodigy.
Okay.
That's their thing. You know,
Right.
like that is that
That's
is their thing.
self-evident. People know.
Exactly. Right, right. It's
You help people
obvious.
discover the superpower they may not know they have
Hmm.
and
Yeah.
then use it in a practical aspect of their life. Is that the
Yes.
basic premise?
Exactly. To get that, to start off with their superpower, so they're like, oh my gosh, that's exactly right. I do want to use that more. And then on occasion, they'll get stuck. And I'll say, like the woman with the who got hit by the electric fence.
Right.
Um, that was just obvious to me. I'm like, something, there's something there. So sometimes that comes up, sometimes it doesn't. And then for me, and then we just go along with, okay, how can we incorporate this? And how, because it's not usually a job, it's something that you bring to a job. But if you're someone like me who meets other people and is just delighted, I'm like a dog at the dog park. I'm like, oh my gosh, let's find all I can about you. Like not like so I can see it or so I can remember it, but so they see how great they are. And so if I were a file clerk somewhere, that would obviously be a really bad that'd be a bad job for me. I don't get
Right.
to I don't get to use my superpower. So we
Right.
go along with that. And right now, a lot of people are, especially who are my age, I'm 55 right now, are
You're a
really.
young lady.
I know, I'm like, 50 is the new 20.
Exactly.
Right.
That's right. I wouldn't go
But,
lower than 20, but 20 works.
right. But I feel like there are so many people who are like, listen, I've I've gotten to this point where I could take a pay cut, or you know what, I'd rather do a job that I really love and is a good match for me. So
I tell my children and people, if you don't do something you love, you're spending so much of your life in it, then,
right,
and that's how you help people get unstuck,
right,
correct?
absolutely.
That's
Because
like,
sometimes if they do their job a little bit differently, or if they have a different specialty within their job, it's perfect for them.
right.
Yeah.
So I know I asked you this in our pre-interview, but I want to ask you again. When they take students and they do these tests to tell them what their aptitude is, you can be this, you can be that. A, what kind of merit do you give something like that? And obviously what you do is very different than
Mhm.
that, but just maybe you could talk about that a little bit.
Yeah, I think it was a great idea. I mean, I remember those things coming out in the late 70s and early
Right.
80s. And it's a great idea because the idea behind it was, let's have you do what you're good at. Like,
Mhm.
what would be something that could be a good fit? I think where they went wrong, and I understand because, it's a different world. We talk about different things than we did in the late 70s and early 80s.
Sure.
And but they said, what professions would you be good at?
Right.
And if you're a good listener, if that's your superpower, what profession is that?
That's, and no
It's not.
aptitude test is going to tell you
Right.
you're a good listener.
Exactly. Right. Exactly. Because there's so many there. I mean, as everyone in the world has a unique superpower. It is unique to them. They may have tools that go along with it, but those aren't their superpowers. The superpower is what they'd want to do all the time and expand in. So, a profession may be, oh, that would seem like it would be great, but it could be horrible for them.
Right.
Because, if, let's see, this person who is a great listener, they're really smart, they remember things, so they're in a law office um, working on research. Terrible for them.
Okay.
But if they do some kind of law, let's say they do family law or they're a
Mhm.
mediator, then that's going to be perfect for them because then they get to listen, and by
Makes
listening
sense.
actively, they make a difference.
Makes sense.
Yeah.
So I want to share something with the audience because Mary Beth did a superpower write up for me, correct?
Mm-hmm.
And what was so interesting is we didn't have a conversation, right? We had a couple of texts. So she didn't see me, she didn't hear me, and it's energy driven. Is it right?
Right.
And I have to share with the audience, she said my superpower is that I'd be a great podcaster. So, no, that's
Well,
it.
I kind of it is.
And I don't want to share details, but I do have to share that she really was very spot on. So I found that very amazing, and it really was quite interesting. So I appreciate that. So you started out with before you did it as a career with friends. What was the biggest obstacle Because quite frankly, if you hear someone say, I know your superpower, and people might be skeptical,
Yeah.
right? But you've taken it and you do it as a career. And the way you explain it, it makes a lot of sense. It makes a lot of sense to me, and I'm sure would make a lot of sense to the audience as well. So what's the biggest obstacle in in doing it, getting more clientele and the like?
Yeah, I would say I had several obstacles. One,
Okay.
I was a single parent at the time. And now I'm married and my kiddo is off in college and doing
Right.
great. But I was a single parent, um, with a kid who was super smart and super like active, and there's just a lot going on. Like, how am
Right.
I going to pay for everything? How can
Sure.
I, how can I be the best mom I can be? And you know, all that kind of stuff. So, and I was at a job that was a terrible fit for me. I mean,
Okay.
I was there for almost 17 years, and I would say I it's horrible, but I kind of hated it for 16 of those years.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, right. Too long. Here's what I would say to
Yeah.
people, just as an
And a lot
aside.
of people, I'm sorry, a lot of people get stuck in jobs and they never leave, right?
Right. And financially, I just felt like I can't leave. So that was probably the biggest obstacle, is making that break. And my company downsized and I was laid off, and that was the best gift. I'm sure the HR manager was like, I was all, when we started the conversation, I said,
Thank you. Thank you for letting me go. It's the best thing you ever did for me.
I was kind of surprised, but I said, it's about time, and it's time for me to go. Like, every day I would leave my office like there
Right.
was no one there. Like, there was nothing on, there were no things hung up. There was nothing personal for like a year. I
That
was
just tells you
clearly
something.
really, really ready to go.
Yeah.
So, so I would say that's a big obstacle, because when people are stuck, they feel stuck in their
Yeah.
job. It is so draining. So fortunately, I got laid off. And then, but the whole time I had been working on, okay, how am I going to do this? I'd been seeing clients here and there. And so I had a client base, but I just never went like official.
Make it a career.
Right. Hmm.
And you
Yeah.
decided at that point you were given this gift by your company,
Right.
do it full time,
Hmm.
right? And that's
Exactly.
what happened.
Hmm.
And now you've become successful
Hmm.
at it. And I find it very interesting and very fascinating, and I give you a lot of credit. So, what message would you want to convey to people out there when talking about your superpower, your gift, this awakening? What do you want to share with people?
You know, there is, there's, there's nothing better than when someone is like, they start to smile again. They get in touch with, oh my gosh, I do love that. Whether it's, so many, there are myriad things that people could be interested in.
Sure.
And sometimes it's like, I just want to shut the world out and go garden.
Yeah.
Like, great, because that leads to living from that place of joy for them. And when we are in that place of enjoyment and inspiration, we have brilliant ideas, we're resourceful, we're kind, we're compassionate. The world is a better place, and our lives are meaningful, and we do the things that are meaningful for us. I don't mean the trip to Paris. That's
Right.
wonderful. But I'm talking about the everyday things, like making time for your spouse, or for your kids, or for your parents, or for friends, or for neighbors. Just to sit. I mean, I was on a walk the other day and I met one of my neighbors who's just darling, and I've never even
Right.
seen her. She lives 2 doors down from me.
Right.
And And so now every time I see her, it's like, but I'm paying more attention.
Did you
I'm
figure
more,
out her superpower when you
you
were at
know
a
what?
walk?
It's funny. Like I don't do this work
You're not
unless
in
I
the grocery store and say, "Knock, I know your superpower." I'm kidding around.
right. I mean, that's for the Long Island medium. That's her
Exactly.
deal. That's great.
Right.
But I don't generally do that without permission.
Right.
Like that's not okay. And but sometimes it'll come up, and I may just say, you know, gosh, you just bring a smile to everyone's face. You know what I mean? Something like that. Something kind of subtle like that, just to acknowledge somebody.
Yeah, and it's so interesting that people themselves are so wrapped up in their own life and what they're doing and their kids or their children or their work. Sometimes they may not recognize those things in themselves. And that's the beauty of them going to someone like yourself is to
Right.
help them identify their quote unquote superpower or what makes them special. And I think it's important. And I think that if you have that gift, it's great to share it. So, how would people find you if they wanted your help or your guidance? Because I think what you offer is really very interesting and fascinating. And I love your mission statement of recognize people and helping them bring joy to their life.
Yeah. Um,
How would someone get in touch with you?
yeah, I am. I put, you could Google Superpower Mary Beth Robinson, and you'd probably get like my Twitter account, TikTok account, and my website.
Oh,
But
cool.
just in case, it is Superpower Inc. .org. And that's my address. If you say .com, you're going to get a power station in New Jersey. So
Well,
that's
I lived a
obviously
while in New Jersey, so
right.
okay.
So obviously that's not me.
No,
But
not you.
and I'm working on uh, getting out there a lot more. This
Good
is
for
kind of
you.
my getting more public and speaking and you know things that
That's a
I didn't
great,
have the time or energy to do before.
and it's never too late, as you say yourself, right? And if you have a gift and you could use it to help yourself and to help others, that's a wonderful thing.
Hmm.
So I really am so appreciative that you came on the podcast today. This is a little bit of a different awakening than some of the other stories we tell, but fascinating in itself, And I'm happy you told me about my superpower, and I think people should learn about theirs and how they could use it in his life. And I wish you the best in your career, and I hope people reach out to you. And I so appreciate you being a guest today, Mary Beth.
Yes. Thank you for having me. And I just one last thing is
Sure.
that, for people who are intuitive and
Right.
empathic, it's it's hard to find your way. We learn math and science and English
Right.
and all that kind of stuff. We don't learn about energy, about how to deal with energy.
Right.
And there are more and more of us every day, like who are really getting in touch with our intuition and are driven to use it. So always, you can contact me on my website, and if there's a class that I need to create or a support group, to talk about this stuff, I'd be
Right.
more than happy to do it, because it can be super frustrating. And for me,
Sure.
I figured it out all on my own. But I it would have been great to know how to use that and how to follow that when I was younger as well.
Yeah, there's obviously no shame in having someone else help you and guide you. That's
Mhm.
what people are here for. You don't always have to do it on your own. And
Right.
if you're in a place in your life where you feel something like this could help you, and I think we could all use that. It's I found it fascinating when you sent me my write up. So
Hmm.
now I know I'm going to have a successful podcast.
Seriously, yeah. I'm not going to say anything about your reading, but
Okay.
it's
Okay.
it's perfect for what you're doing.
Thank you. I
It's
appreciate it.
perfect. Don't overthink it.
Okay.
Just delve in, ask those probing questions, like, get juicy.
That's what my producer Jay tells me as well. So thank you, Mary Beth.
Yes,
I will
thank
be
you.
speaking to you soon.
Okay,
Take
sounds
care.
great.
Bye-bye.
Thank you.
Thank you for listening or watching this episode. If you enjoyed our guest, please go to our website, awakeningsinreallife.com, where our guest shares a story different than their awakening. It's really very interesting. We also have bonus episodes where another individual tells their awakening story. Please also check out my book, Awakenings in Real Life, where I tell the story of my dad's awakening from his dementia and the message he sends that he still lives and appreciates life. It's available on Amazon and also tells other family stories. If you know of someone who wants to be a guest on the show and has an awakening, please email me at info@awakeningsinreallife.com. We're also available on social media. Please tune in to our next episode where we share another remarkable awakening story. Finally, I want to thank Jay Belsky of Flawed Media of Rockville Center, New York, who did such a great job recording this episode.